Cần Thơ city in the Mekong Delta is the fourth biggest city in Vietnam. During the rainy season from May to November, the city is often inundated twice every day, 2 weeks every month. The inundation results from long-period high tide and rising river waters. In the past 10 to 15 years, the highest tide in Cần Thơ has surged by 20 to 30 centimeters.
Và mỗi con nước vậy là ở con đường này sẽ ngập lên từ 7 ngày tới 5 ngày. Nó ngập là tới nó tràn vô nhà luôn. Hiện bây giờ đồ ở trong nhà mà mua bán cái gì là phải kê lên hết, nếu không kê là phải ướt. Tất cả các cái nhà đều phải che chắn hết, như chắn tấm dáng. Rồi mình tối mình ngủ mình phải phủ thêm ngoài tấm bạc nữa. Mà ngập gì đó là nó khoảng 4 tiếng đồng hồ, không có ai đi đâu vô đường này đâu mua bán. Đợt tháng rồi là mình không để ý, do đó nước nó tràn vô bất ngờ, do đó mình phải ướt hết trơn toàn bộ một cái lô hàng.
Mưa xuống cũng ngập, mà tới mùa nước lên cũng ngập, nói chung là ngập suốt, đường xá là nó hôi thối suốt vậy luôn. Học sinh sinh viên là vô ga khó khăn đưa con cái đi học là té lên té xuống, dắt má dắt xe đi bộ không.
Currently, there are around 800 urban areas across Vietnam, and roughly 36.5% of the population are urban dwellers. The number of urban residents is forecasted to reach 44 million in 2020 and 52 million in 2050. Along with rapid urbanization, climate change and urban inundation are increasingly frequent and serious, causing major challenges for Vietnam, especially in the water management sector. Hello and welcome to Sharing Vietnam. The people in the cities of Vietnam are facing remarkable pressure from rapid urbanization and the negative impacts of climate change, especially in coastal areas. In our program today, we'll get to know more about the situation as well as the support from Germany for Vietnam to deal with the issues. Our guest today is Dr. Dirk Pauschert, Director of Programs in the area of climate change at the German Development Cooperation, or GIZ, in Vietnam. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
In your opinion, how has climate change impacted the Vietnamese cities in recent years?
Yes, cities get flooded a lot, and so what happens is, again, infrastructure gets destroyed, particularly in cities. Vietnam is one of the countries by all serious scientific studies that are out there. Vietnam is one of the countries most affected and most vulnerable by climate change, and cities are sort of at a focal point of that. Water management plays a very, very important role. If the city gets flooded, then obviously you have damages to the construction and the infrastructure. People have to evacuate. Their livelihoods, their businesses is getting destroyed. So even after the flood has gone, people come back and they will find that their businesses are destroyed. It has a huge impact. And when a city gets flooded, wastewater also tends to sort of come up and go into places where it shouldn't be. And so then usually after a flood, you have quite serious health issues. And that's the specific impact on cities.
What is your forecast of the future impacts of climate change in Vietnamese cities?
As I said, climate change, general, Vietnam is one of the countries most affected by climate change, and that affects the cities. So the things that you have seen, floods, storms, also droughts or saltwater intrusion, all of those things are going to get, in tendency, they're going to get worse. The second effect that comes to it is population growth and urbanization. Vietnam is a growing society, but it's also an increasingly urbanizing society. More and more people live in cities. And if you look at where those cities are, and if you look at where people settle, then it's mostly on the coastline. And these are the most vulnerable areas. So you have a combination of climate change getting more serious and population density in the hotspots increasing, and so you'll have more and more people being affected, specifically in cities, over time.
In your opinion, what are the challenges for the current water management system in Vietnamese cities in the context of climate change?
Well, typically, water management in the event of a flood relies very much on the drainage systems, and drainage systems do not cover usually an entire city. Cities grow very, very fast, and the infrastructure doesn't grow as fast as the city does. So one of the things that we need to do is build up alternatives to drainage apart from the given network that helps to cast the water away more effectively out of the city. Also, urban planning would need to be improved. So the question is, where do people settle? Do they settle in very flood-prone areas, or do they settle in areas that are not as flood-prone? And urban planning in that direction can make a huge, huge difference to the overall damages that floods do in a city or don't.
In recent years, the German Development Cooperation, or GIZ, has been implementing a number of programs to support Vietnamese cities in coping with climate change. One of them is the flood-proofing and drainage program in medium-sized coastal cities of Vietnam for climate change adaptation. The project is executed from 2013 to 2018 at both national and local levels, including some cities in central and southern Vietnam, namely Tuy Hòa, Quy Nhơn, Nha Trang, Quảng Ngãi, and Sóc Trăng. Major targeted groups include vulnerable individuals such as poor people, senior citizens, women and disabled people living in flood-prone areas. The project consists of various activities such as introduction and implementation of natural disaster risk management in the context of urban flooding, improvement of the early flood warning system, compilation of risk maps and climate change risk forecasts, development of master drainage planning for cities. Along with training, building capacity and raising awareness, the program incorporates models and experience from localities into the national legal framework to improve climate change adaptation in urban flood proofing. In addition, GIZ also assists the Vietnamese Ministry of Construction in implementing the national strategy for urban and industrial zone drainage development until 2025 with a vision towards 2050. According to the strategy, by 2025, 50% of wastewater in large and medium-sized cities and 20% of wastewater in small cities will be gathered and treated in line with proper standards. At the same time, the drainage system will cover 80% of urban areas and 100% of cities will be free from frequent inundation during the rainy season. By 2050, Vietnamese cities will be equipped with synchronized and complete drainage systems. Urban inundation will be completely removed, and all of urban wastewater will be treated in line with proper standards. Well, as far as I know, GIZ has been implementing several programs to improve the water management system in Vietnam to cope with climate change. How do you describe the major results of the programs?
First, let me say GIZ is funded by the German government, by the Australian government, by the Swiss government. So there's a lot of activities that we can do and that we can extend all over Vietnam. One of the things for cities, for instance, would be in the area of flood-proofing, where over 1 million people have benefited from our efforts to save lives and to help people save their livelihoods, their houses, their homes, their sources of income. Over 1 million people in several provinces. Another 3.5 million people have benefited from improved coastal management along a stretch of about 720 kilometers of coastline in the Mekong Delta. We have helped to improve about 14,000 kilometers of water canal systems that connect agricultural areas but also systems. That is more than the distance between Germany and Vietnam. So there are quite a lot of successes that GIZ has done also with the help of other governments and co-funding agencies.
And can you share some information on the role of Vietnamese partners in those programs?
It is our philosophy, it is the approach of GIZ to always work in a very, very integrated way with our partners, with the Vietnamese government. We work together on a national level with the Ministry of Construction, with MONRE, with MART, and other ministries. We work together on a provincial level with the PPCs and subordinate departments of the ministry, START, DONRE, Hydromet. And what we find is that without this strong integration and cooperation, the success that we have wouldn't be there and wouldn't be as big. We find tremendously committed and tremendously dedicated people jointly working on those projects. It's really good.
What are your recommendations for Vietnam to further improve the water management system in the cities in the coming decades?
First, I would say urban planning. We have done early warning systems to increase the warning time for people, but we cannot and have not covered all cities in Vietnam. It is estimated that by 2030 there'll be around 1,000 urban centers in Vietnam, smaller ones and bigger ones, so that's a lot. So urban planning has to improve, early warning systems can improve, water system management in those cities can improve. But it's not just the cities, they don't exist in isolation. There's always a sort of a wider context. And the second thing is coastal management and interprovincial cooperation. A drought does not stop at provincial borders. A flood does not stop at provincial borders. Saltwater intrusion does not stop at provincial borders. So to deal with all of those challenges effectively, also as they affect the cities, we need to improve cooperation between provinces.
And finally, could you share some information on GIZ's plan to further support Vietnam in improving the water management system to deal with climate change in the cities?
We are constantly looking for opportunities to extend our activities in Vietnam. The programs that we currently have different times that they run up, and all of those are going to continue. SECO, the Swiss State Secretariat, has recently agreed to fund and co-finance the floodproofing program so that we can extend our activities in 3 cities and provinces in the Mekong Delta. That would be Cà Mau, Zac Sa, An Giang and Kien Giang. And from there on, GIZ has been in Vietnam since 20 or 30 years now, I believe. And we're hoping to continue this relationship for quite a while.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing some valuable information.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Well, that's all for our program today. Hopefully, Vietnamese cities will become more well-managed and climate resilient in the coming decades with the support from international partners. Thank you so much for watching and see you again next time.